Chapter 13. Felony. I was up by 8:30 on Sunday and headed to the kitchen for breakfast. When Gary got up, I said, "Gary, I just want to say thank you for letting me," and that was as far as I could get. I was too grateful to finish the thought. It was overwhelming how Gary had opened his home to me. I was a complete stranger, but he had given me a place to live and food to eat. "You're welcome. Trust me, I have been where you are. I'm glad to help. When you get the chance, and it may come sooner than you think, you'll be able to do the same for someone else. Remember, being able to help someone is an honor and a privilege." We didn't talk much for the rest of the day. I read and then spent the afternoon watching TV. I ate dinner and went to bed early because Monday I would start my job search. I wanted to have good news to tell Malcolm on Saturday. On Monday morning, I felt a bit fearful. I needed to find a job. I really didn't like interviews. Some stranger asking me stupid questions like whether or not I have a pleasant personality or if I'm hardworking and honest. Doesn't everybody answer those questions the way they think the interviewer wants to hear them? I didn't know how or where, but I had to find a job today. I was out the door by 9 a.m. Gary had gone to work earlier, and I was on foot. Walking didn't bother me today. I was too excited. Malcolm was right. Within walking distance were many fast food restaurants and convenience stores. I went into the nearest restaurant. I smiled at the clerk and stood up straight. "Can I help you?" asked the face behind the counter. "I want to apply for a job." I looked her right in the eyes. I was more confident than I had ever been. The clerk looked under the counter and opened a drawer. She pulled out an application and a pen and handed both to me. "Fill this out, bring it back to me, and I will have the manager meet with you." It took me 10 minutes. I had written down Gary's address and phone number to use. I felt fine until I reached the back of the form and saw the question that read, "Have you ever been convicted of a felony?" I had checked the yes box. My confidence dropped a little bit, but I wasn't too concerned. I had done my time. That part of my life was over. I reviewed my answers and gave the form and pen back to the clerk. "Have a seat. The manager will be out in a few minutes." I thanked her and bought a drink. The clerk disappeared into the back of the restaurant. I sat down. Just as I finished my drink, another woman came out from behind the counter. She was carrying the application and made her way to my table. She introduced herself as the manager and sat down. "Okay, let's get started. Everything seems to be in order here." Her eyes were moving side to side as she read my application. She eventually made it to the second page. Near the bottom was the question about being convicted of a crime. "So, you have a felony conviction." She put the paper down. I was expecting this. I'd even rehearsed my answer. I started to explain, "Yes, ma'am. I was very young, and I made a mistake. It's something, I'm sorry. We have a company policy. I can't hire anyone with a felony conviction. Good luck." She stood up and went behind the counter as quickly as she had come. I was stunned. Not at being turned down, but at how quickly it had happened. It was as though once she found out, I didn't exist anymore. Like I wasn't a real person. I quietly left for the next restaurant. By the end of the day, I had heard every reason for rejection possible. "Sorry, not hiring." "Great, we'll call you when we make our decision." "Don't think you'd be suited for the opening we have right now." More often than not, it was just, "We don't hire people with a felony conviction." I went back to Gary's house, dejected. Gary wasn't home from work yet, and I had the house to myself. All my earlier confidence was shattered. I can't believe it. No one will give me a job. I had more hope while I was locked up than I do right now. I was beginning to doubt all that Malcolm and I had talked about. Was any of it true? Had I believed a lie? I walked back to my room and picked up my copy of How to Win Friends and Influence People. I started to read. I thought about all the things that had happened in the last several weeks. The peace I had come to know returned. As I started to read the book, I thought about new possibilities. Instead of thinking about the failure of applying for a job, I thought about taking action. As long as I took action, I would find a job and be successful. I looked around Gary's house and saw the rewards of a focused person taking action. If he could do it, I could too.